Tonight, I want to share with you several things, but first, I want to show you something. It's stunning. I want you to look at this, and are we prepared to play this? Let's go ahead. Okay, then I'll take a seat. I'll take my water. Where is it at? Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
According to research, in order for a culture to maintain itself for more than 25 years, there must be a fertility rate of 2.11 children per family. With anything less, the culture will decline. Historically, no culture has ever reversed a 1.9 fertility rate. A rate of 1.3, impossible to reverse, because it would take 80 to 100 years to correct itself. And there is no economic model that can sustain a culture during that time. In other words, if two sets of parents each have one child, there are half as many children as parents. If those children have one child, then there are 1/4 as many grandchildren as grandparents. If only 1 million babies are born in 2006, it's hard to have 2 million adults enter the workforce in 2026. As the population shrinks, so does the culture. As of 2007, the fertility rate in France was 1.8, England 1.6, Greece 1.3, Germany 1.3, Italy 1.2, Spain 1.1. Across the entire European Union of 31 countries, the fertility is a mere 1.38. Historical research tells us these numbers are impossible to reverse. In a matter of years, Europe as we know it will cease to exist. Yet the population of Europe is not declining. Why? Immigration. Islamic immigration. Of all population growth in Europe since 1990, 90% has been Islamic immigration. France, 1.8 children per family. Muslims, 8.1. In southern France, traditionally one of the most populated church regions in the world, there are now more mosques than churches. 30% of children ages 20 and younger are Islamic. In the larger cities such as Nice, Marseille, and Paris, that number has grown to 45%. By 2027, 1 in 5 Frenchmen will be Muslim. In just 39 years, France will be an Islamic republic. In the last 30 years, the Muslim population of Great Britain rose from 82,000 to 2.5 million, a 30-fold increase. There are over 1,000 mosques, many of them former churches. In the Netherlands, 50% of all newborns are Muslim, and in only 15 years, half of the population of the Netherlands will be Muslim. In Russia, there are over 23 million Muslims. That's 1 out of 5 Russians. 40% of the entire Russian army will be Islamic in just a few short years. Currently in Belgium, 25% of the population and 50% of all newborns are Muslim. The government of Belgium has stated 1/3 of all European children will be born to Muslim families by 2025, just 17 years away. The German government, the first to talk about this publicly, recently released a statement saying, "The fall in the German population can no longer be stopped. Its downward spiral is no longer reversible. It will be a Muslim state by the year 2050. Muammar al-Gaddafi of Libya said, "There are signs that Allah will grant victory to Islam in Europe, without swords, without guns, without conquest. We don't need terrorists. We don't need homicide bombers. The 50+ million Muslims in Europe will turn it into a Muslim continent within a few decades." There are currently 52 million Muslims in Europe. The German government said that number is expected to double in the next 20 years to 104 million. Closer to home, the numbers tell a similar story. Right now, Canada's fertility rate is 1.6, nearly a full point below what is required to sustain a culture. And Islam is now the fastest growing religion. Between 2001 and 2006, Canada's population increased by 1.6 million, 1.2 of those immigration. In the United States, the current fertility rate of American citizens is 1.6. With the influx of the Latino nations, the rate increases to 2.11, the bare minimum required to sustain a culture. In 1970, there were 100,000 Muslims in America. Today, there are over 9 million. The world is changing. It's time to wake up. 3 years ago, a meeting of 24 Islamic organizations was held in Chicago. The transcripts of that meeting showed in detail their plans to evangelize America through journalism, politics, education, and more. They said, "We must prepare ourselves for the reality that in 30 years, there will be 50 million Muslims living in America. The world that we live in is not the world in which our children and grandchildren will live." The Catholic Church recently reported that Islam has just surpassed their membership numbers. Some studies show that at Islam's current rate of growth, in 5 to 7 years, it will be the dominant religion of the world. As believers, we call upon you to join the effort to share the gospel message with the changing world. This is a call to action.
What do you think? What do you think? You can. What do you think? Frightening. The Word of God teaches us that when God loves a nation, He teaches us, and He sent us messengers, and He sent us hope. This is a good time for America to step forward and make the difference, because the agenda of the Islamists is being revealed as it's been. Well, that's a good word, that's what he said. He said, we are aborting our children. Since abortion came about, we have lost over 80 million child. 80 million child. If we have not aborted those children today, America will be so sufficient in number of people to do the work in here instead of sending it all the way to China. Instead of doing, all kind of crazy things, we could have done it here in our homeland. But this is part of the curses that we deal with, when we murder children. But nevertheless, tonight I want to talk about the infiltration. It's no longer invasion of Islam to the United States of America. Now, the rank is infiltrating our country. It is within our walls. It is within our structure. Government, military, homeland, security, on many, many, many levels. Before I go further, I want to get this out of my way. In here we have product. All of them are informational. This is specifically to teach about all this. This one here, it's called Third Jihad, which is why the Muslims are coming to do the final jihad. Islam has committed 2 jihad already, and both of them were powerful. One subdued the Arabian Peninsula, the second one all the way to Europe, Russia, and China, and now United States of America. That's the Grand Jihad. The second one is my book, Kamal Saleem, you know, The Blood of Lambs, and it's my story in a nutshell. That could have been 7 times bigger than this. This is here a study for, you know, Christian, how to reach Muslim and teach you about a lot of Muslim standards. This one here, Dreams, is how Jesus Christ appearing to the millions of Muslims all over the world and how the Muslims are coming to Christ. As we mentioned this morning, last year over 60 million Muslims came to Christ. That is powerful, isn't it? This is time to say, thank you, Jesus. This is time to express your gratitude to God because God is doing the job whether we're doing it or not. He said, I will build the church and the power of hell will not prevail. The church time has come right now for the warrior to arise. And this is the message. This is Kamal Saleem in a red chair, which is my story in a movie. This one here, interview with a terrorist and revealing the agenda of terrorism and is Islam religion of peace? What is the treatment of women in Islam? Do we serve the same God? Is lying permitted in Islam? What are the faces of jihad? What are the mosques and what the mosques are for? This is how they are right now. They demonizing and the exodus, demonizing the Christian and Jew, the exodus of the Jewish people to Israel. Israel rose by 1 million Jewish people. Today, the first language in Tel Aviv is French. It's not Hebrew because the French are running all over, the Jewish French running back to Israel. And the Christian Arabs are running from all over the world, of the Muslim world, running to the United States of America because they have no place to go. This is the last and the final frontier. This is obsession, what obsessed the Muslim to do what they're doing and how they're doing it. And what is the doctrine behind it? This is Islam, what the West need to know. This is a powerful one that I recommend highly. And last but not least is Islam Rising. And this one is nearly 4 hours teaching on Islam and what Islam means in many different ways. And there's one, it's on Islam in prophecies, which is really powerful too. In here there is two little DVDs. You know, these are, we're not selling them, we open them for donation. This is the Jesus film, which is we give to the Muslim. This is done in 16 Islamic language, and this is in 9 Islamic language. This is Magdalena delivered from shame, how the woman is treated in Christianity versus Islam. And this is information about who we are. What I described this morning, our ministry is called Kum ministry. Kum is an Aramaic word where Jesus, you know, Christ talked to Lazarus, and when he stood outside of the graveyard of Lazarus, which was in a cave, and he says, Lazarus, kum. Lazarus, arise. Jesus did not speak Latin, he did not speak Hebrew, he did not speak Arabic, he spoke Aramaic. And when he said arise, arise, because when God arises someone, he is sending him on a journey. He's arising you to say, go. The last mandate that Jesus Christ gave, he said, go in my name. Where? To all nations. Baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Lay your hand on the sick. Show them what God has done for you. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Testify what God has done for you. Then he wanted to leave his home, and he said, when he arrived at Talitha, he stopped, you know, that day, you know, her father, he said, Talitha is dying. Would you come and pray for her? And Jesus said, all right, he would. And as he was going, he stopped by Wally World, and he shopped. There was some good things on sale, and then he stopped by Target, French organization. And he did few things, and he arrived really late. And everybody going like, dude, where have you been? The girl's dead, go home. He said, she's not dead, she's asleep. So he reached her by the hand and he said, Talitha, kumi. And a new life was given to her. The power of Jesus Christ is the risen power because he died and he rose again. And that power today is in you. Say, his power is in me. That is the power of God that he conquered hell, sin, and death. And this power today, he said, greater things you will do than I, because I go before the Father. And this is the time for the church to arise. So when he arises the church, he is sending you. Otherwise, he said, be still and know that I'm God. Our hope is to reach out the American church and wake them up and let them know about the love of Christ, that Christ is waiting for you to come back home. And God stands every day on a hill, he crying for his sons and daughter. Where are you? I stand on a hill every day. I have a robe of righteousness. I have a signet ring and a sandal of peace to give it to you, my sons, my daughters. I stand every day crying, and I wonder where you are. Have you had enough from the world yet? Have you served the pig and ate the pig's food? It's time to come and dine in your Father's table, for in my house there are many mansions. And he waits on the hill every day, and he cries for his sons and his daughter. And he sent them a terrorist from the other side of the world to tell them, I'm missing you. This is a call to action. The second one is to educate them about the radical Islam invasion that is taking place in the United States of America and the whole world. And the third level is to reach God people, the Muslims. Jesus died for the Muslim too. Our message is not message of hate and anger. Our message is salt and light. Is to bring truth to the people, to the whole world. Jesus brought the truth to the whole world. But nevertheless, we do not compromise, we do not medicate, we do not change our word just to be nice. We say it as it is. We love them to life because it's the truth that set humanity free. Amen. And now, when we reach to the Muslim and love the Muslim, it is by his goodness and by his kindness that he led us to repentance. It is the goodness of God that makes place for us to come. And this is a place for all those Muslims out there that they have none. Israel wandered in the desert for 40 years, but the Muslim been there for thousands of years, wandering in the desert. He said, be a city on a hill, a light that let your light shine, my son, my daughter. Because it is your light, the light of God that he's given you. You are the salt and the light of God, and when you walk, God will give you the land. He said, fear not, for the Lord your God is with you. Which one we didn't understand? God with us or fear not? We can witness to each other in those four walls. We can bless each other. Oh, good to see you. You sit in my seat, move out. Oh, I love you. Let's have lunch together. And let's break bread and do something. But this is not what church is all about. It is your Jerusalem, your Judea, your Samaria, the whole world. And this is your time and this hour, because the talents that God given you are specific and unique. What have you done with them? You are a talent yourself. What have you done with yourself today? You fed yourself, you went to the shower. That's a good start. You shaved, most of us. And many of us did a lot of things. We paid tithe. We just blessed some other people. And we did a lot of things, but there's more. There's people out there that are living in the darkness, blind, deaf, dumb, broken, in the jail, hungry, thirsty. They have not seen the goodness that you have today. And that's what the message is all about. And I'm going to talk about terrorism, and I'm preaching the goodness of God right now. I went to Seattle. Where's my bodyguard? I took him the first time with me to Seattle. There was a Muslim festival. There were over 400 Muslims. Oh, don't worry about it. Here he is. He went with me the first time to Seattle. There were over 400,000 Muslims. And we went among the Muslims, handed them the Jesus film, the Kamal Saleem in red chair, and many other tracts to let them know that Jesus loves them. And Kevin was looking at me. He said, are you in your right mind? I said, this is maybe not for you. Maybe you need to go home. This is a job for somebody who decides to make a difference. So now we went over there to to Seattle. And now as I'm walking around doing this big guy, his name is Majid, he came and running at me and he screamed at me. He said, today is your last day and you will not live beyond this day. I'm going to kill you. He has more muscles than anyone I've seen on his arms. And I started crying out to the Lord. I said, Lord, bid me to take him out. And Majid is screaming at me and the Muslims start forming all around. And I said, Lord, bid me to take him out. I'm crying to the Lord, just give me permission. And the Lord, I heard the voice of God. He said, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. I said, is that you, Lord? And he said, they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. I grabbed Majid's hand like this, and I locked on his wrist with the other one so he could not punch. That's a trick. And I started telling him my story. And I told him my story. And I told him my story. And Majid started asking questions now. And I'm going, okay, praise you, Jesus. It's working. And now, after I told him this, I told him about how I came to Christ, which is those who didn't come and hear it this morning, you missed on it, get the tape. And what happened is, I told him about all this, and I said, let us cry to Allah, the God of Islam, and let us cry to Jesus Christ. If Allah answers, I will be a servant for 7 years. I'll wear a nose ring and an earring. Says, belong to Majid. I'll serve you any way you want me to serve you. I'll bow down, I'll clean, I'll be your servant, your slave. But if Jesus Christ answers, you're free for the rest of your life. Fair? No. It's fair. So with this, Majid didn't know what to do. He started shaking and his forehead started beating. And he didn't know what to do. And the Lord showed me to his heart, he's in a place where it says checkmate. Because if he said yes, what happened is, then Jesus Christ is Lord. And if he said no, then Allah is not a God. And he didn't know what to say. So I grabbed his hand again, and I started telling Majid. And I started crying out to the Lord. I said, dear Lord Jesus, your word said, if we lift up your name, you'll draw all the nations unto us. I bring you Majid, do something with him right now. I have no idea what to do, but you do. Help me, Lord. I'm crying. I'll tell you what, when you come to that place and when you cry earnestly, the fervent, effectual prayer of the righteous man availeth much. Majid pulled his hand from both my hand, and he put his hand on his ears. And he started saying, I hear his voice. I hear his voice. I hear his voice. I hear his voice. Goliath, that day one, hit the dust. And Goliath could not get up. And the Muslim going, this is haram, this is forbidden, this is not right. He received Christ. Half an hour later, he brought his cousins. They received Christ. Amen. By sunset, he brought 2 of his best friends, radical Islamists. They received Christ. By the end of the day, we had 42 Muslims came to Christ. Amen. The battle belonged to the Lord. To God be the glory. The reason why I'm telling you this is to let you know that the battle does not belong to you. He said, let God arise and let his enemy be scattered, and let the righteous be glad, and let those who rise against him be put to shame. The battle doesn't belong to you, but you have to give it to God. Amen. And when you give it to God, God goes before his armies. This is how the battle is won. And today, when we bring 42 Muslims to Christ, is because his word is yes and amen. Amen. I was reading one day in a book, I was reading this book, and I read this statement. It says, this man who's talking this in his speech, he said, in the first place, we should insist that if the immigrant who comes here in good faith become American and assimilate himself or herself to us, he shall be treated as an exact equality with everyone else. For it is an outrage to discriminate against any such man because of greed or birthplace or origin, but this is predicate upon the person becoming in every facet an American, and nothing but an American. There can be no divided alliance here. Any man who says he is an American, but something else also, is not an American at all. We have room but for one flag, the American flag. We have room but one language here, that is the English language. And we have room here but for one sole loyalty, and that is a loyalty to the American people. 1907, Theodore Roosevelt. The time has changed from Theodore Roosevelt to Barack Hussein Obama. One is fighting for this country, one is infiltrating this country. When Obama was running for a president, and he put one hand like this, and the other hand like this, and he was doing the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America's flag, I'm looking at this, and I'm going, is that for real? In Islam, this is your loyalty and submission to Allah when you're praying. The Muslims pray 5 times a day this way. They don't pray this way. This is the American way. So therefore, when he was doing this, the whole Muslim world were laughing, and he was giving them signal, I am a stilt, Islamic militant, hiding to do what I have to do. The finances start pouring from all over the world. $45 million were raised from Saudi Arabia alone. At the end, he had over $450 million came to him for his presidency. While America slept, while Americans slept, the enemy have moved. The Trojan horses are set in high places in your world. When a Muslim does this, he's saying, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen la sharika lah wa bizalika umirtuhu wa ana awwal al-muslimin. What does that mean? My life, my death, my every breath, my family, everything is belong to you in martyrdom. There is no God but you, and I am the first martyr for Allah. That's what it means. This morning we talk about the 2 sizes of the Muslim coin. One side, it says socialism, and the second side, it says Islamism. Islam is socialism. These are the ism family. You have communism, socialism, Nazism. All the isms are related to one another. When Hitler did what he did, he did not do what he has done because he was brilliant about what to do against the Jews. The Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Hajj al-Amin al-Husseini, he flew in secrecy to Germany, and he taught Hitler how to enslave the Jews. It was Umar ibn Khattab, the second Khalifa after Muhammad, who did put the badges in the Jews and put the tattoos, to tattoo them with their names and their numbers. This was Islamic trade. Because the Muslim did the same thing to slavery. When they went to Africa and captured African and came and sold them to America as slave, this is how the slave came to America. They were captured by Islamists. This is the trade that Jefferson sent the armies to fight right there by Morocco and by Algeria and by that northern Africa over there to fight to free the American and European people from being enslaved, captured by Islamic pirates. Are you listening to me? This is a shock to your system. You're going to say, this is crazy. No, it's not. My people perish for the lack of knowledge. And if American people start using Google for other than shopping, pornography, eating, doing other things, we will learn so much. Because the computer is an instrument of knowledge and power. Hajj al-Amin al-Husseini raised 3 regiments from Chechnya and from Bosnia. These were Muslim soldiers that they fought against, with Hitler against the Jews. They killed more Jewish people than any other German Nazi German soldiers. Google that. Everything that I'm saying, you should write, you should take note, and say Kamal Saleem is lying. You should check for yourself if it's true. Because if it's true, then it's your call too. It's not mine alone anymore. I wrote several things, and I thought, where do I start? By telling the American people and educate them about the infiltration or about last Christmas, what took place. Last Christmas, Barack Hussein Obama, it was on Friday. Christmas Day fell on Friday. Barack Hussein went to the mosque in Washington, D.C., and he prayed in the mosque down the street from the White House. The media didn't put it out there. Why? Because the media is bought by Islamic finances. Billions of dollars has been poured into our media, into our education, into our government, into every way of life. Apple, all the computer system, the IT, the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry is being bought by Islamic money. The stock exchange is being bought by Islamic fund. Fox News is bought. The majority holder of Fox News, the majority stockholder is Prince bin Talal of Saudi Arabia. Why are they investing in all this? Because they can pool their power in there and they can shut down the whole thing overnight. Forbes magazine, which is Christian, 6% was bought this year by Prince bin Talal. Forbes. This infiltration is allowed to happen. What happened between Bush and Obama? What has taken place? One disallowed and one is allowing. We had the power to stop Iran from having nuclear power. But on the other way, he played the game that the Muslim play. You see, in the Muslim world, if my brother and I were going down the street and the other gangs came against us and we're fighting against them. So what we do is my friends will come try to make peace between us, and they will hold the other guy on purpose so he cannot hit me. But yet they will not hold me. They'll free my hand to go and punch him. And yet they're making peace in the name of peace. And America has been sucker punched several times already, and American people says, turn the other cheek. Give me more. We're becoming so used to being abused. November is very, very good time to go vote Jesus Christ. We don't vote independent. We don't vote Republican. We don't vote Democrat. We vote Jesus Christ and the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And everything shall be added unto you. Your politician should be asked, even if they're conservative politician, if you're voting for him, tell him, do you believe that we worship the same God as a Muslim God? Put them to accountability. Do you believe Islam is a religion of peace? Do you believe these are your mandate? Because you cannot blame things on them after you have voted for them. First, it's shame on them. Now it's shame on me. So it's our job to stand up for what is right. And that is the right things to do as God people. To be wise as serpent and innocent as dove. We go in our community. We get involved in every level. Your council should not be strangers. They should not be liberal. You are the council of every state. You are the council of your city. You are the board of education. You are the House of Reps. You are the senators. You are the presidents. You are everything God has given you. The understanding, the wisdom, the knowledge, and he has given you his glory. He's given you everything that you need. Fear not. I am with you, saith the Lord. Oh, well, Lord, is that you? I want to punch him. You saw the demographic. By sheer number, they will take the world. But nevertheless, our time is not up. The finest hour of the church is upon us. The church will do a glorious thing. The church will awake, because this is what God says. He said, if you don't praise me, the rock will cry out. And what he's doing, he's raising up the rock. Many people are coming to Christ because the heat is going to accelerate. And this acceleration, you can learn from it because the line has been drawn in the sand. Which side are you going to stand on? There's a story in the Bible, which is, I read it again and again and again and again. 10 brides going where? To meet the bridegroom. 5 were foolish and 5 were wise. But nevertheless, At the midnight hour, almost at the midnight hour, all of them went to sleep. And when they went to sleep, what happened? Jesus Christ came and woke them up. 5 were filled, their basket were filled with oil, and 5 had none. The line has been drawn in the sand. Are we wise? Are we fool? It's a decision everyone has to make. Love is a decision. Work is a decision. Marriage is a decision. Going to school is a decision. Everything you do in your life is a decision. What are you deciding today to do? For me and my house, we will worship the Lord. Let me share something with you. These articles I was putting out and about, and I never put my name out there because there's a lot of people that loves me. And I don't attract them to me again. When President Obama stood in Egypt on June 4th, 2009, what did he say? He said, America is no longer a Christian country. He's dismantling our country from being Christian. He said, it's a Muslim, it's a Christian, it's a Jew. What is he making place for? Cordoba Initiative. Who wrote the speech for him? Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf, the head of the one who's opening Cordoba Initiative Mosque, Ground Zero Mosque, down the street in New York. How do we know this? Because he boasted in Mideast, he was speaking, and he spoke in Arabic, and I understood Arabic. He said, who wrote the speech to your president? It is me. In his book, what he said in his book, a new ideology, new ideas for Americans. That's what he referred to. But he called it in Arabic, the house of, the call of prayer from the rubble of Ground Zero. That's what he referred to his book. It's deception. What you need to know is what they're saying in Arabic and not what they're saying in English. Because what they said in Arabic, they could not deny because they have to tell the truth. We talked about today, al-taqiyya. Do you remember what al-taqiyya was? Put your hand up. 6. Okay, 7. Hey, you put it twice, sir. That is al-taqiyya. I was talking about my mother teaching about 2 kinds of sins. The first one is the sin that you lie about, which is dark sins. And the second one were the white sins. The white sin is when you lie to extend and expand and advance Islamization of a nation. This is considered righteousness. Muhammad referred to it in the Holy Quran, the generous Quran. He referred to it in a surah called Al-Ahzab, which is the parties. And he said in there, he said to one of his spies on my family before he killed his Quraysh tribes. And what did he say? The man said to him, well, if I go there, I have to lie about you and you kill people like me. He said, whatever you say, for the sake of Allah, me and Islam, it is forgiven. It's a mandate, it's a doctrine, it is Sharia law. Do you remember what Sharia law is? Put your hand up. Okay, those who doesn't know what Sharia law is, put your hand up. Okay, Lord. Sharia law is the constitution of Islam. Sharia law is made from two components. One of them is the Holy Quran, and the second one is the Hadith by Muhammad. The Hadith by Muhammad is the biography of Muhammad, the mandates of Muhammad, what Muhammad did. If he ordered to kill, then it's a mandate. If he ordered to do, capturing, like for example, in one of his Hadith, he said, "Inni umartu an uqatilu ash-shu'ub." I have been commanded to kill, to fight and kill all people until they say, "La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah." Until they say there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. And if they refuse to do so, then their blood belongs to me. So what does that mean? They must kill the man. The women belong to me. The children belong to me. The monies belong to me. The culture belong to me. Your land, your home, everything belong to me. So by Islamic right, when we come to the United States of America, it's a mandate because America is an infidel land. It's our right, everything that you have belongs to the Muslim. Everything. Ethnic cleansing is not done only by killing people. Ethnic cleansing is done by rape too, where you rape a nation and you fill it up with Islamic seeds, and now Muslim boys and girls are all over the place. These are Islamic doctrines. So when we say Sharia law is made from several components. The highest component is the religious, that derive everything. Right under it is the military, the right arm. And the second one is the civic, and then it goes to every level of a constitution. It's a government in the fullness of its power. So therefore, when it goes to your culture, it takes over your culture. Your culture becomes subdued. Because why? Islam is made to take over. There is no mandate in Islam to share a country or a race or to live in harmony. They are mandated to take over until the death of the culture. Do you understand me? So Sharia law, this is what Abdul Rauf Faisal, he's the Imam of Ground Zero Mosque. Ground Zero Mosque, what Americans don't understand, and I want you to pay very special attention in here. In Islam, when a Muslim, they do ghazwa, which is raids. They send their armies, and now the army takes place. Now there are mandate, after they take a place, what they do is to build Rabat. Rabat is a place, it's like a fortress. The fortress is to bring more Islamic army, to bring more food, to bring more intelligence, to bring more and more and more, and bring about Sharia law to do the second invasion. So what they refer in the Muslim world at 9/11, it is ghazwa. It's a raid. So now that the culture, the American culture, has been put to submission right there in New York, that place must be built according to Sharia law, where it's called Rabat. Now, that place will be an Islamic culture center. In Islam, there is no Islamic culture center, but it is to cultivate your culture from within. You understand me? Islam, when it goes to different places, it doesn't go to be equal to you in any way, form, or shape. Islam go to be a settler. They're pioneering. There's a movie I was debating whether I should show it or not. It's called Al-Muhajirun. Al-Muhajirun is a group of men that they left the Mideast and came to the United States of America. After 9/11, they stood in New York City, and they burned the American flag. They spat on the flag. They poured urine on the flag, and they start calling all other Muslims. They said, Muslim, we have full right to do this. Come and join us. The constitution of this country support us. Come be in our rank. And what did the Muslim people start joining their rank? And these guys were dressed in military clothing. And I'm going like, what just happened? It's upside down. And I'm watching all this, but here's the scary part. They called Al-Muhajirun. It's very important to understand what Al-Muhajirun means. Muhammad, when he came to Mecca at the beginning, and he brought about Islamization, he modeled himself as a Christian, similar to Jesus Christ. It was peace. It was loving. It was kind. But all those 14 years when he was in Mecca, he got only 80 people, and he was getting beat up every day, and nobody wanted his religion. Because they said, your religion is just like ours. There's no different. Why should we join yours? So what happened is, when he ran away and he went to Medina, what happened? Allah, the God of the Quran, he abrogated everything that he said before. And Allah said word for word, according to the Holy Quran, the generous Quran, he said, I have changed my mind. For I know what's better for my people. You have to trust me. I'm going, it sounds like sales pitch. The God of the Bible, if the Muslim says we worship the same God, this God says, I know the past from the future and future from the past. I wrote the story. I created you to worship me. I knew you by name. I created you for such purpose. But this guy here is still finding his way. So what happened is, the difference between the two, it changed now, and now it was by the sword. The last two surah in the Quran was for surah number 4, 5, and 9, which has abrogated everything that is peaceful. You know, so now, when it says no commotion in Islam, it doesn't apply anymore. Why? Because the new has replaced the old, and the old is out. In the restaurant business, they call it 86. In German, they call it kaput. In French, they call it fini. I don't know where I'm going with this. So what happened is, Al-Muhajirun, when they left from Mecca to Medina, the mandate was by the sword. So when they left their countries and came to America, that means they are the sleeping cells. That they are mandated to take the country by the sword. Are you listening to me? This is the truth, so help me God. So now, we're looking at the invasion is coming from within. Saudi Arabia paid the Muslim family, any Muslim family, to come to the United States of America, $100,000 to migrate here. $100,000. And when the Muslim family moved to America, at the beginning, they don't wear Islamic clothes and what so have you until they situate themselves in different places. And when they do so, then they are paid $10,000 a month to wear Islamic clothes. So when you see those pictures in verse of Ramadan, you have thousands of Muslim men and women shutting down New York from end to end. What does that mean? They bust them over there to make their presence known in your culture. They are paid to do so. Then, in France, when they bust them from all over, from Marseille, from Nice, from all those places, and take them to Paris, and in Paris they start praying on the street and subdue the street by hundreds of thousands. What the Islamic are doing, it's a doctrine in Islam. You used to come to our country as tourists, but now get used to us because we're coming to take over your country. It is a full message. When the Muslims start rioting in France, and we talk about the rioting, for those who are not here, when the Muslims are at 2%, they're peaceful, they're loving, they're kind. Oh, God bless you. We worship the same God. Let's eat hummus together. When they go to 6%, now they start causing issues. And they let their voice known all over the country, just like what's happening in the United States of America today. And when they reach 10%, they start rioting and intimidating and taking over the country. That is a doctrine, and it's studied, and it's fulfilled in different countries. So now, when the Muslims were marching in France and rioting and burning everything, they burned 300 buildings. They built over 300 buildings, cars, automobile. And when the reporter said, "Are you rioting here?" They were declaring as they're marching, they said, "We are, this is our land. This is our land. This is our land." And the reporter said, "Are you declaring that this is your land because you're a citizen of this land?" They said, "No, because our ancestor never finished the conquest." The conquest that's mandated by Muhammad is to subdue the whole world. I want to go with you over the first jihad. The first jihad, when Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, came about, he took over Mecca, Medina, all that area. He killed his family, the Quraysh tribes. He subdued the whole thing. He cleansed the earth over there from the Jews and the Christians, which is, they were the popular leaders in that area at that time. And what happened after this, after he died? The Quran was not written until 60 years after he died. It was by Uthman bin Affan, his third Khalifa. He came about and he wrote the Quran for the first time. And they don't know where to put the dot, the T, the accent, the this and that. So it was written meaningless. And they didn't know which surah came first, which surah came second, which is which book. So therefore they put it from number one, from the smallest to the biggest. So it came just like, okay, this has 2 letters more, let's put it next. This has 6 letters more, let's put it next. So this is how they orchestrated. And it was 300 years after Muhammad died that the first time the Quran was written properly. Is the Quran corrupt? Muhammad, they don't know which surah it's true. But nevertheless, they know something, that the second jihad they took over Europe, they went all the way to China, they went to Russia, they went many different places, Turkey, they subdued the whole world over there. The third jihad, America is the great Satan and the head of the serpent. And America must be captured. And the only way they have to do it, Imam Faisal, the Grand Zero Mosque, Imam they said, how can we subdue America? He said, you deal with her like you dating a beautiful woman. You just keep telling her she's beautiful until you subdue her. This is Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf, the Ground Zero Mosque. Let's talk a little bit about Cordoba Initiative. Cordoba Initiative, many people, when you ask the Muslim or when you hear about our president, so our president celebrated Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, in the White House. After he has kicked National Day of Prayer out, after he told many of the pastors, I don't want to pray with you, he chose Ali Khan, and he prayed with Ali Khan 5 times a day, which is only the Muslim pray 5 times a day. And he said, I follow in my father's footsteps. So what happened is, he is declaring over America what's called the Dahamiya status. What is Dahami status? Anyone knows what Dahami status? Put your hand up. Keep it up. Dahami status. This is a doing church. This is a church that does the work of the kingdom. We have one. This is good. Many churches has none. So, the Dahami status is what separates between Muslim and non-Muslim. So therefore, what happened, if I'm a Muslim and you are not Muslim, you are subservient to me. So if I'm walking on the street and you're walking in front of me and there's only one path, you have to step out of my way. You cannot ride a horse, you have to ride a donkey, because only the Muslim ride a horse. If an infidel and a Muslim go to court, automatically the infidel lose the case in the court. Immediately. It's a lost case, the Muslim win. If a Muslim kill non-Muslim, he goes free. All he has to do is pay what's called fidya, which is price for the person's life. But if non-Muslim kill a Muslim, then he's commended to death. In order for you to live as a Dahami, you have to pay what's called penalty tax. That penalty tax is a certain amount of money for your life. It's a ransom. And you have to pay it every month, because if you don't pay it, then your life is acquired according to Sharia law. Obama is saying Sharia law is not bad. Sharia law is really good. America is applicable for Sharia law. Sharia law is nothing like the American institution. They are not the same. They are not even close to each other. Where are we going with this? Everybody remember what Article 6 is. Everybody say Article 6. Do you know what Article 6 is? Holy, holy. Article 6 is the heart of the Constitution, because, Pastor, the Article 6, it is what separates religion from government. And if the Article 6 is revoked, what happened? The Constitution of Islam, Sharia law, could be equal to the American government, because it's not a religion, it's a government. So now, because they live here, they will have the status to build their own centers. They have their own society, their own culture within our culture. So it'll be like a cancer being in a human body trying to subdue the body. Does that make any sense? This is what you're dealing with. The Dahami status is what Cordoba Initiative is all about. So when you have the health bill, it's been proved by our liberal and by the president, and they exempt the Muslim from it. What does it mean? The American people have to pay what's called jizya in order to support whom? The Muslim. The Muslim are exempt from it, but you support them. So if they go to the hospital, your tax money will pay for them. Now, they are the elite and you are the subservient. When $60 million from your tax money or your tithe to this government, you know, you're going to pay tithe one way or another. To God or somebody else. I can go on this more. But nevertheless, $60 million is put for abortion. It is legal right for the Muslim to amend abortion in a non-Muslim culture. So when you start aborting and the government is paying you to abort your children, it is because your children are not Muslim. Do you understand me? Did I make it clear enough? So what happened here is, in a Muslim world, abortion is illegal. Why? Because they must bring as many children. It's mandated by Muhammad to subdue the world by numbers. So now, $60 million are put there to change your world, to put clinic on every corner to abort, abort, abort. Then he turns to Kenya, which is his birthplace, and what does he do over there? He paid $23 million to advance abortion in Kenya. Why are you advancing abortion in Kenya? By American tax money. This is against our constitution, because Kenya, only 10% of Kenya are Muslim. They are the Lu party. This is where his family is from, and the rest are not. He's bringing abortion to non-Muslim countries. He's advocating this. So now when you hear about Islamic mosque and you hear about Islamic centers, this is a good question that you know everybody has to ask. What's the difference? The Muslim mosque is the parliament. When a Muslim mosque is open in an area, the area becomes a holy ground. It's 40 block radiant, it becomes holy. That means the whole Muslim world can come from every direction and inhabit this area and settle in this area. What they do, they start confirming the land, bringing the Sharia law food, halal meat, halal food, bring everything to the area. Muslims start moving in. People of the area start moving out because things are changing overnight. They force them in or out. How's that happening? It's happening all over Europe. All over Europe. And when that happened, now they start raising their sheriff according to the law of the country. They start raising their mayor. They start using their house reps. They start raising everything they want because it's their legal right, because they're inhabiting the area. So the infiltration is taking place under your eyes, and you could not do anything about it. After they inhabit the area is besieged. You cannot go to the area. Why? Because now they have their own guards, they have their own people. It's all over Europe. Many areas that no one can enter those areas, not even the European who owns the land, only the Muslim can enter those areas. And that area turned to 6th century culture overnight. Mr. Obama, it's okay to say you're a Muslim, because the word says you know them by their fruit. There's two kinds of people: those who are fruitful and those who are fruity. And your fruitiness stinketh. It's out of the Bible. Where do I start? Where do I go from here? There are so many things that have taken place. If I tell you about Sharia law and what the Quran says, if I start with this, it'll give you a headache. But it's not my job. It's your job to find out. It's time for American people to start reading the Quran, understanding what Islam is all about. Half of the battle is understanding what your enemies are up to. Half the battle for the American people to arise and make the difference. How much time do I have left? To God be the glory.